Good morning and welcome to the news at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, Kaveri water rows are top focus. Now, curfew has been imposed in Bangalore and 15 other localities in Karnataka. This a day after violence and arson was witnessed on the streets of Bangalore yesterday. We'll get you all of the details on that and much more in this bulletin in the next half an hour. Let's begin with the headlines. One killed and one injured in police firing as protest against release of Kaveri water gets violent in Karnataka. Chief Minister calls emergency cabinet meet. Centre assures all assistance. Curfew in all 10 districts of Kashmir Valley to prevent any violence during Eid. Poonch encounter enters a second night. 2 security personnel injured. First death due to chikungunya confirmed in Delhi. Over 27,000 cases of dengue reported through the country. 12,000 cases of chikungunya reported till August. Cessation of hostilities comes into effect in Syria. Humanitarian groups hope to make aid deliveries to worst hit areas, especially Aleppo. And Deepa Malik scripts a history, becomes first ever Indian woman to win medal at the Paralympics, bagged silver in shot put event. Our top focus this morning, Karnataka Chief Minister has called an emergency cabinet meeting in the wake of violence following the release of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu. Now, one person was killed in police firing on Monday. Things went out of control after protests were seen against the amended Supreme Court order for the release of Kaveri water. Well, there seems to be an issue with the audio there. We'll try to get back to that story. Meanwhile, curfew has been imposed in all 10 districts of the Kashmir Valley on Eid. This is perhaps the first time that such a measure has been taken since militancy broke out in the state. Meanwhile, the encounter in Poonch is still underway as the police officers suspect presence of at least one more militant in that area. Two security personnel were injured as the encounter between terrorists holed up in the under-construction mini-secretariat in Poonch and security forces entered the second night on Monday. 3 militants and a policeman were killed on Sunday, including a police officer.
2 militants have been eliminated. We have seen that, and there is resistance. There is still 1 militant, and we don't know. It could be more than that. The operation is on.
ईद भी है, बड़ा दिन भी है. अब उसी दौरान एक दिन पहले आना जो है ये साफ क्लियर है, बहुत क्लियर है कि यहाँ पे पीस, अमान और शांति में रुकावट डालना चाहते हैं.
Forces are doing a very commendable job and the operation would be successful and would culminate successfully very soon. But what is even more gratifying is that the local population there has a very high morale and they are absolutely in a cooperative mode.
पाकिस्तान की ये गंदी साजिश है, इस तरह ये नहीं होना चाहिए और इन बड़े-बड़े त्योहारों में ये इस किस्म की हरकतें गुनाही नहीं होनी चाहिए.
Meanwhile, for the first time in over 20 years, the state government has decided to impose curfew across the 10 districts of the Kashmir Valley on Eid ul-Azha as a measure against loss of life after the separatists called for a march to the United Nations office in the valley. This is for the first time since the onset of militancy that no Eid congregations will be held at the Eidgah and Hazrat Bal shrines. Army has been deployed at strategic locations and helicopters and drones will be used for aerial surveillance to ensure peace.
पिछले 2 महीने से यहाँ पे जो सख्ती है, जो किलिंग्स हुई हैं, हम उनके गम में शरीक हैं, तो हमें ये जो ईद है बड़ी सादगी से मनानी चाहिए.
यहाँ के जामे मस्जिद में अभी 2 महीने से नमाज भी नहीं हो रही है और क्या पता ईद के दिन कैसे हालात रहेंगे और हम ये ईद बड़ी सादगी से मना रहे हैं.
हमारे बच्चे हमारे जो भाई है भी अस्पतालों में पड़े हैं, तो हम घर में ईद मनाएंगे। ये ईद नहीं, ये बिल्कुल मातम रहेगा इस साल कश्मीर में।
The Jammu and Kashmir government has also ordered shutdown of internet and mobile services except of state-run BSNL for the next 72 hours as a precautionary measure. In a separate incident of violence, militants hurled a grenade at a police post in Anantnag district on Monday night, killing one civilian and injuring 10 people, including 3 policemen. The grenade exploded on a road at a time when people were busy doing last-minute shopping for Eid. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from the northeast, and Jyoti Prasad Rajkhowa has been sacked as the governor of Arunachal Pradesh. Now, Rashtrapati Bhavan communique said that President Pranab Mukherjee asked Meghalaya Governor V. Shanmuganathan to discharge the functions of the governor of Arunachal Pradesh in addition to his own duties until regular arrangements are made. Now, Rajkhowa was appointed the governor of Arunachal Pradesh on 12th of May 2015. He was the first gubernatorial appointee of the Modi government. Last week, Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh conveyed to the President that Rajkhowa's continuance in the post had become untenable after the Supreme Court's observations against him over the dismissal of the Congress government in the state. Rajkhowa had earlier refused to step down despite the central government asking him to put in his papers after the Supreme Court strictures.
तो पहले ही हटा देना चाहिए था। इतनी देर इंतजार किया, ये कोई पता नहीं क्यों किया। शायद इसलिए क्योंकि जो भी उन्होंने किया था वो तो केंद्र की सरकार के कहने पे शायद किया होगा, तो इसलिए हटाना तो था ही। उनकी पोजीशन सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट के बाद बिल्कुल अनटेनेबल थी, तो इसलिए हटाया है, तो अच्छा किया है।
In case of Rajkhowa ji, the appointment was made by the BJP government only. And it seems that because they were not able to succeed in their sinister design of changing the government in Arunachal, now they are penalizing the governor.
On to some other news, and the Union Cabinet on Monday approved the constitution of the GST Council, which will decide on the tax rate, exempted goods and the threshold. The first meeting of the Council, to be chaired by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, will be held on the 22nd and 23rd of September.
The Union Cabinet on Monday approved the constitution of the GST Council, which will decide on the rate of tax under the new Goods and Services Tax regime. It will be chaired by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and comprise Minister of State for Finance in charge of the Revenue Department, and comprise Minister of State for Finance and State Finance Ministers as members. Union Revenue Secretary will be the ex-officio secretary to the Council, but will have no voting rights.
The first meeting of 22nd and 23rd of September. So, as it looks, so far we are ahead of the time schedule. The main thing to be done now is to call as many meetings as possible of GST Council and try and sort out all the major issues.
The government is aiming to implement GST from 1st April 2017. It is looking at a 2-month period for discussion on major aspects of the GST by the Council.
With respect to the exemption limit or the rate structure or the model GST law or the principles that govern the place of supply rules, threshold limits or floor rates, whatever, all these decisions will be taken by the GST Council.
Meanwhile, the government is planning to introduce GST legislations, Central GST and Integrated GST, in winter session of Parliament in November. Since both the Houses of Parliament passed the bill unanimously in the monsoon session and many states ratified the GST, President Pranab Mukherjee gave assent to the bill. GST, which is being touted as the biggest tax reform since independence, will subsume excise and service tax and various other local levies including VAT and octroi. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Union Cabinet on Monday decided to raise a buffer stock of pulses to 20 lakh tons. The decision was taken at a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It said that a specific variety of pulses, their respective quantities for the buffer stock and their procurement will be decided based on price and availability position, both domestic and global. The government agencies will now procure 10 lakh tons of pulses from farmers, while 10 lakh tons will be imported. Now, production of pulses had remained low in the past 2 crop years due to drought, resulting in spike of retail rates. However, production is expected to rise this year following good monsoon, high market prices and sharp increase in the minimum support price. Meanwhile, the retail inflation eased to a 5-month low of 5.05% in the month of August, helped by smaller rises in food prices, raising hopes of an interest cut in the next month's policy review. The fall in food inflation and the fuel index dragged down the overall numbers to within the comfort zone of the central bank, which has targeted a 5% inflation by March 2017. Now, economists had expected annual retail inflation to come in 5.5% last month compared to 6.07% in July. On the other hand, industrial output contracted 2.4% in July from a year earlier, mainly dragged down by lower production of capital goods and consumer non-durables. Well, right now we'll take a very short break. Up next, we have all the international and sports news. Stay with us.
Homai Vyarawala, better known by her pseudonym Dalda 13, was India's first woman photojournalist. Vyarawala entered the field of photojournalism in the late 1930s. For nearly 30 years till she retired in the early 1970s, at the peak of her career, she made a massive impact. Vyarawala clicked some iconic pictures of political and national leaders. Gandhiji, Nehru, Jinnah, Indira Gandhi have been subjects of her vast photographic collection. Prime Minister Nehru, she says, was her favourite. In 2011, Homai Vyarawala was conferred the Padma Vibhushan, the country's second highest civilian award.
I am Ishan Russell.
I'm Tracy Shilchi and you're watching News Tonight.
Together with the team of our
dedicated professionals from across various fields.
This is Shyam Sundar,
Vishal Dahiya,
Akhilesh Suman,
Frank Pereira from Beijing, China.
Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
We bring to you
the news that matters here on Rajya Sabha TV.
Gyan Chopper is the ancient version of Indian snakes and ladders. This intriguing game was popular among the old, the young, and the rulers as well. The chopper has its origin in the Jain philosophy. It tells the story of virtue, symbolized by the ladders, rewarded, while the vices shown by the snakes are punished. Each square, in turn, also narrates some message of wisdom.
Welcome back. Now, the national capital reported its first confirmed chikungunya death on Monday. Well, the 65-year-old man died of the mosquito-borne disease when he was brought to the Sir Gangaram Hospital. His test for chikungunya came positive with high viral count. Now, while 5 suspected dengue deaths and 1 suspected chikungunya deaths have also been reported from AIIMS this month. According to the hospital reports, the chikungunya death at the AIIMS took place in September and 5 persons have also died of dengue this month. Chikungunya cases in the national capital has risen to over 1,000 this season, making a jump of nearly 90% from its count last week. According to a municipal report released on Monday, 1,057 cases of this disease have been recorded till 10th of September. However, hospitals in the city altogether are reporting much higher number. Dengue has affected more than 27,000 people and claimed 60 lives across the country, while over 12,000 cases of chikungunya have also been reported till last month. More news from the national capital. While cracking the whip on dissidents within the party on Monday, Aam Aadmi Party suspended its MLA Devinder Shehrawat. The action comes after the party's national convener Arvind Kejriwal returned to Delhi, wrapping up his 4-day visit to poll-bound Punjab. The decision to suspend the MLA was taken by the disciplinary committee of the Delhi's unit of the party. Shehrawat had earlier written to the AAP national convener Arvind Kejriwal, alleging exploitation of women by a few partymen in Punjab. He had also spoken against the party leadership when Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav were shown the door last year. Now, Shehrawat is the fourth party legislator whose primary membership has been suspended after Pankaj Pushkar, Asim Ahmed Khan and Sandeep Kumar. Let's get you some international news. Now, a cessation of hostilities has come into effect in Syria. US Secretary of State John Kerry said that while the start of the ceasefire looked good, it was far too early to draw any definite conclusions. Kerry, who had signed a deal with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Geneva, added that it could be the last chance for peace in a united Syria. Meanwhile, with the cessation of hostilities, humanitarian groups are hoping to make aid deliveries to the worst-hit areas, especially the war-torn city of Aleppo.
Now, this renewed cessation of hostilities went into effect. The earliest reports are that there's some reduction in violence, as well as a few reports of fighting here and there, though it is far too early to draw any definitive conclusions.
As the sun sets in Syria on Monday, there is cautious optimism in the air, as a ceasefire has begun. The peace deal brokered by the US and Russia in Geneva calls for a halt to the violence between the Syrian regime and the rebel forces. The world, along with the Syrians, especially those living in the rebel-held areas, wait to see how long the fragile peace would last. And as the locals celebrate Eid today, they hope against hope.
والله احنا مع الهدنة بس بدك تقول انه هالشيء كله مو ظابط معنا يعني يوم إلك يوم عليك لا بصير شيء انه بصير هدنة بعد يومين صار ضرب علينا عم نموت فيها اهاليتنا اخواتنا كلهم راحوا
نحن مع الهدنة بس كل مرة المسلحين ما بيطبقوا القانون وبضربونا يعني ما بنفذوا القرارات اللي بيتاخذوها وبضربونا يعني ما بتقيدوا بالهدنة اللي هن بيحكوا فيها وبنتمنى الامور تتحسن والله ينصر الجيش.
Everyone knows how fragile the break in violence can be. Just hours before the ceasefire, airstrikes continued to bombard opposition targets. Close to 100 people were killed in just last 2 days. And on Monday, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad made a visit to the former rebel stronghold of the Rajya, giving a defiant message to the country's opposition forces.
دولة عندما نأتي إلى هذه المنطقة فنعطي رسالة أيضا لهؤلاء بأن الدولة السورية مصممة على استعادة كل منطقة من الإرهابيين، على إعادة الأمن والأمان، على إعادة الإعمار، على إعادة البنية التحتية، على إعادة بناء كل ما هدم بكل معانيه البشرية.
At the moment, though, the ceasefire is a test of workable relationship between the US and Russia, who are on opposite sides of whom they support in the country's political regime. While Russia is Assad's ally, the US has demanded his departure from office. If the truce holds for 7 days, the US and Russia will carry out coordinated airstrikes on militant groups.
Возобновляется режим прекращения боевых действий. Для его соблюдения российской стороной выполнены все необходимые подготовительные мероприятия. В целях обеспечения режима прекращения боевых действий во всех сирийских провинциях.
The conflict in Syria, which began with an uprising against Assad, has raged for 5 years and claimed the lives of more than 250,000 people. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And a former British Prime Minister David Cameron has announced his resignation from his seat in Parliament with immediate effect. The news on Monday came nearly 3 months after Cameron stepped down from his job as the country's Prime Minister. Cameron said that he had told his successor, Prime Minister Theresa May, of his decision to step down and to stop representing his constituency, Witney, in Oxfordshire, to make way for someone who could concentrate in the area in the central England. Cameron said that he did not want to be a distraction for new Prime Minister May. The ruling Conservative Party elected May to lead the country after Cameron resigned following his failed campaign to persuade voters to remain in the European Union in a 23rd of June referendum.
And I've decided the right thing to do is to stand down as the Member of Parliament for Witney. There'll be a by-election. I'll give the Conservative candidate my full support. And I support Theresa May. I think she's got off to a great start. I think she can be a strong Prime Minister for our country. And I don't want to be that distraction.
Let's get you some more international stories. Here is the World Wrap. Hillary Clinton sought to draw a line on Monday under the health scare rocking her White House campaign. Clinton assured her supporters that she was feeling fine and will soon return to the fray. Now, facing intensifying scrutiny about her health, the US Democratic presidential nominee will also make new disclosures of her medical records and data. The Democrat was diagnosed with pneumonia after she fell ill at a 9/11 memorial event in New York. The Pentagon has said that a US airstrike killed Islamic State strategist Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, contradicting Russia's claim to have killed the militant. At the end of August, Islamic State said that Adnani had been killed in Aleppo province. The US then admitted targeting Adnani but stopped short of confirming his death. The killing was later claimed by Russia. Adnani was one of the Islamic State group's most high-profile figures, with a $5 million bounty on his head. An Italian town heavily hit by last month's earthquake is taking legal action against Charlie Hebdo after it portrayed victims as pasta dishes. Now, Amatrice, where most of the 295 victims lived, filed an aggravated defamation complaint against the satirical French weekly magazine. Now, one of the images labelled as a lasagna showed a stack of rubble with bloody feet emerging from it. Italian magistrates will decide whether the case can proceed. Now some good news coming in from the Rio Paralympics. Well, India bagged a silver medal in the women's shot put on Monday. Deepa Malik became the first Indian woman ever to clinch a medal at the Paralympic Games when she bagged a silver in the shot put F53 event. Now, Deepa's best throw of 4.61 meters from her 6 attempts was enough to clinch the silver medal. She will receive a cash award of 4 crore rupees under Haryana Sports Scheme for her feat. Now, Deepa is a paraplegic, paralyzed from waist down, and a mother of 2 and wife of an army officer. Life took a twist when a spinal tumor made walking impossible for her 17 years ago. Besides a shot put, she has also won medals in swimming at international competitions. She holds the Asian record in javelin throw and has also World Championships silver medals in shot put and discus in 2011. Deepa Silva is India's third medal of the Games after Mariyappan Thangavelu and Varun Singh Bhati won the gold and bronze respectively in men's high jump.
With all that difficulty, medication required, regular physiotherapy required, regular treatment required, repeated hospitalization required, repeated tumor disease, and yet working for 7 to 8 hours a day, getting a medal, the regular people are nowhere near them.
And on that happy note, time to end this news bulletin. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.